make me look a little younger. Ross kind of had it faded where I looked a little bit older, so Ty, thanks. Ty came to us from San Francisco. He saw the light and moved over to this side of the country, and we're happy he's a part of the Penguin team. But thanks so much for coming back with your enthusiasm and your great attitude and so much preparation. I know the students are so excited to get back on campus, even if it's not for every single one of your classes. Just to be back here and to walk around, it's been fun just to see everyone wandering through campus and masks on and just enjoying being outside and on campus and reminding themselves of why they selected to be a Penguin in the first place. And so we really have done a good job. We handed out thousands of these mask kits with the sanitizer and, of course, our Penguin pledge. We just have to keep reminding ourselves of that pledge, that we pledge to protect ourselves first. We have to take care of ourselves. If we don't do that, we're really going to have problems. We're going to take care of and protect one another. We're going to protect our campus, and we're going to protect our community because we are so ingrained in this community. We're such a part of this community. So many of us live in different parts of the valley and the region and so forth. So continue to follow that Penguin pledge. Continue to wear those great masks, and these wash up really nice, and kudos to the group that came up with that, and thanks so much to the focus groups who got us ready for this safe return. We had 50 plus people working all summer long. It seemed like 7 days a week. They did a great job of getting us ready. Now it's up to all of us to follow the plan and continue that great attitude and feel the energy of the campus. And so again, congrats on the start. The start is really important, and we had a good one. We didn't have a perfect one, but we had a good one, and we'll keep getting better as it goes, and we certainly can improve. And a focus area that I would like to talk a little bit about today is we've got to make sure we do a great job of keeping our gatherings to a minimum. The state mandates, the CDC, recommends that no more than 10 in a gathering, and in the gathering make sure we have our social distancing and make sure we have our face coverings and make sure we've got our hands washed up and so forth, and we've got to minimize those, most especially in our residence halls where there's a conglomerate of people, or in our apartments that are around the circumference of the campus. We've got to make sure that we don't slip into having some larger gatherings, and also in some of the other areas like Dunkin' Donuts or Wendy's or Chick-fil-A, or even in the library, we've got to pay a little bit closer attention, and we can improve from a gathering standpoint, and I really think that that's going to be the key as we talk to university personnel all over the state, all over the country. The one thing that everyone is most concerned about is if we allow gatherings to get too large. Right now, from a national standpoint, there's a little bit of more than a little bit, quite an uptick of positive cases of this COVID, ages 16 to 30, in large part because we've let our guard down a little bit from a gathering standpoint. So we have every intention of being the best university in the world in terms of handling this difficult situation, this situation that we wish were a little bit different. And so we urge you today, keep in mind, help each other, remind one another, take thoughtful guidance that we've got to make sure that we keep those gatherings down a little bit. Remember, it's the long haul that counts. We've got to keep our guard up. We can't slip and stop thinking about all of those fundamental things like the gatherings and the face coverings and the hand sanitization and so forth. This is week 2 of 15 week plus our final exams. So continue to do well. It's been exciting to see how well you've done. Love seeing all those masks all over campus and the distancing when it's done properly. But I really think we can improve. Remember, it's all of our actions, every one of us that work here and every one of us that come to campus to take class or just live in one of the apartments or residence halls and might be doing maybe a little bit of remote as well. Every one of our actions is important. So we want to make sure that we continue to improve in that area. We're fortunate to have some really good regional partnerships. We have a group that's been meeting quite often that we've entitled our City University Compact. We've had tremendous guidance from the state of Ohio and the federal government and the CDC and so forth, but on a more focused local activity, our Youngstown City Health Department has been fantastic. Our local county health departments have been fantastic. We've had a chance to meet with the local governance, the mayor and his staff. We've had a chance to meet with law enforcement, all the way from Chief Varso and the YSU PD and Chief Lees with the Youngstown Police Department and Sheriff Green from Mahoney County Sheriff's Office. They've been working together with us to make sure that we can do a good job being in a safe environment. We've worked with the people from the Youngstown City Schools, the county schools. It's really been a great partnership that we've put together. Eastern Gateway has been a part of it. The local landlords of the area apartments that we have, the local business owners. We've really got a great working relationship, and we really think that if we work together, we can do a great job in keeping you safe, keeping our campus safe, and in turn, keeping our community safe. So know that there's a lot of good folks in our corner and a lot of good work being done from that standpoint. There have been a lot of questions about data. I think as we went through the summer, the questions were we going to be coming back here? What's it going to look like? What's my course modality? What about the residence halls? You know, what about sports? What about student activities? What about the marching pride? You know, all of those kinds of things. And I think we have the answer to those. Those aren't exactly the way they were a year ago, but we're moving forward in all those areas. But I know there's been a lot of questions about the data behind this whole COVID-19 situation. And so know that the local health departments, the city and county health departments, are really the stewards of that data. And it really is kind of complex. For instance, we might have a student who's from Portage County who's taking primarily remote that ends up with a positive test. Well, is that part of the data that would be considered YSU? Is it part of the data that would become part of City of Youngstown? Or is it Portage County? All of those kinds of things, whether we might have an employee or a faculty member or someone who is elsewhere. Again, we have so many people coming in and out of our campus that conglomeration, that partnership of counties and health departments and universities and school systems and so forth make it a little bit difficult to understand the data. But do know this, we know that our students, if they aren't feeling well, that they know they're going to go through the Office of Student Outreach, who will then make sure that we communicate with our faculty members, that will communicate with Julie Gentile and her staff in the Office of Occupational Environmental Health and Safety, and then in turn work with our city and local health departments, regardless of what county the person might reside in. So there's going to be that discussion and so forth, and then contact tracing begins. So let's give an example. Let's say that a student is here in class and isn't feeling really well, and then all of a sudden feels like they have some symptoms and gets a hold of the Office of Student Outreach and the process begins. We'll then go into a contact tracing mode. And because you're doing a great job and the faculty is doing a great job of having seating charts and Q codes and all those different things, you may get a call that you were in proximity of someone who's got some of these symptoms, and we may need to have some discussions in terms of the whole contact tracing protocol. We'll be working closely with all of those things. That's a part of the entire data part of things. Vice President Eddie Howard told me just today, he said, of our students that are in isolation, that have had some symptoms, we don't have any that are here, right here, in isolation that have a positive COVID test. Those people who have asked to be in quarantine while a contact tracing process goes on, right now, there's none that we know of that have a positive COVID. But again, the data is so flowing, the data is continually changing, and so for the people that have chimed in with the questions and called in and text in or however you do it on all this fancy technology, it's not that simple that it's what's the YSU numbers, because the YSU numbers are part of the fabric of the entire region. But we'll certainly follow every process, every contact tracing, everything that we're supposed to be doing, and we are in constant dialogue with the local health departments. Our people are doing a great job. Another question that came up was, how come we haven't considered universal testing of all of our students or all of our employees or all of our residence hall students or whomever? And as we've had discussions both at the state level and the local health department level, that really wasn't recommended that we do that. There is not necessarily the availability of the amount of testing materials, and we need to make sure we have the testing materials for the ones that we know are symptomatic and the ones that we definitely need to get a test. You know, the one thing that you can do for sure is if you feel as if you would like a test and, you know, you just have some of those symptoms and, you know, whatever they might be, fever or, you know, loss of smell or loss of taste or whatever it is, all those different things that you can find on the COVID-19 page on our website, you can make an appointment right down on campus at the Mercy Health Primary Care, right there, WIC Primary Care, right on the corner of WIC and Lincoln, and know that if you make an appointment, there's a couple-day turnaround and so forth, but feel free, if you feel the need, feel the desire to do that, that we have that opportunity open for you. So the data thing is a little bit confusing. We wish that it was a simple scoreboard, but it really isn't. But you can be assured that our people are staying on top of the situation, and the local health departments are all over it. And if there's anything that at any point in time that needs to be done, you can be sure that we'll get that done. Another question that has come up on some of these question boards and so forth is, what would trigger us to go back to totally remote? And that's something I don't even want to think about. I would like to think that we're going to continue doing what we're doing and constantly improving, and as time goes on, whether it's next semester or the following semester, one of these days we're going to be back to the penguins we've always been, and that's why we're counting on those scientists and people with the vaccines and all of the great knowledge and so forth. But there are a couple things that would trigger us going back to remote, and I jotted them down here. First of all, if we as a university don't feel like we have the ability to maintain a safe campus, meaning we don't have the personnel that can keep it safe, or we don't have the supplies that can keep it safe, that could trigger us. Again, I think our people are doing a great job of making sure we do have adequate supplies, we do have adequate personnel, we have adequate assistance, but if we can't make this place safe, it would force us perhaps to go remote. If we didn't have the ability to deliver the face-to-face or the agile hybrid that we're delivering right now because of, again, a personnel issue, maybe quarantined faculty members or whatever it would happen to be, if we couldn't deliver the instruction that we say we're going to deliver, obviously that could force us back. Of course, if we had an extraordinary large number of cases, all of that would be in consultation with the health department. They have various color levels of purple and red and orange and this and that, and you can't go just based upon those color codes, because you never know why a county might have moved from one level to the next. It might have had nothing to do with the population that is in or around us and so forth. But obviously, if there was some spike that the health department felt as if it wasn't safe for us to be here and that we would need to shut down and go remote, obviously we would need to follow that instruction. And I guess the only other trigger, and again, I don't want to be thinking about going back to remote, but we do always have to plan for the worst and execute so that the worst won't affect us. But if all of a sudden we had a lack of availability of isolation and or quarantine space, when we would have symptomatic people, or we would have contact tracing protocol that we would need to follow. And if we couldn't do that from a space standpoint, we have set aside that isolation and quarantine space. So we feel as if we're going to be in good shape. We feel as if we have great capacity at our local hospitals and so forth. But I guess get that out of your mind, that there's a chance that we're going to go remote, because we're going to work like crazy and make sure that we do the things to not have one of those triggers happen. Another question that came up on our list is course delivery concerns. When we asked you to look at your schedule and you looked at the 5 different modalities, and you did a great job of trying to figure out, okay, when do I need to be face-to-face? When do I need to be remote? When do I need to rotate in? What do I need to do if I've got a face-to-face at 9 and a remote at 10? I've got to find a spot where I can make sure I dial into my remote and so forth. And you've done a great job of handling that. But I know there have been some curveballs or changes thrown your direction in a few cases. And my advice to you from that standpoint would be, obviously stay in great communication with your instructor. That's number one. If you don't feel as if you understand exactly where that communication is coming from, your next step is you could go to the department chair of the department that you're in, that the class is in that department. I guess the next step, you could go and see the dean's office or email the dean or whatever, and obviously the next and really the final authority, if you will, on the course delivery side of things is the provost's office and the Office of Academic Affairs. So my recommendation is, I know our faculty want to do a great job. If they've had to make some changes for whatever reason, hopefully we'll do a great job of communicating that and making it the highest quality instruction. I know the faculty members' number one goal, because of their passion for the discipline that they teach, is to make sure that there is high quality instruction, that you're being challenged, you're being given all the tools you need to progress through that particular course. So my advice is make sure you stay in close communication with your instructor. Another question that has come up on the question list is, well, what about spring semester? And I love these questions. Here we are in the second week of fall semester, but you know what? There's planners in this world, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so I would say that we're looking at spring semester exactly the same way we looked at this fall, from this standpoint. First and foremost, what is the modality that the faculty member is most comfortable teaching, so that there is safety, so that there is high quality instruction. So we're always going to have our faculty weigh in first and foremost. Obviously then the number of sections we need of certain courses, we can figure out that puzzle in the Office of Academic Affairs. Then the next thing is, we've got to make sure that, based upon all the safety information, all of the things that we would like to do, that we can offer the courses that you need so you can progress toward your degree. We know there's some rising seniors here that are in that fall semester of their senior year, and they want to make sure they can get those final courses in the spring semester so that they can be 2021 graduates of Youngstown State. We'll make sure that we have those things in place. But I would, again, stay in close contact with your advisor, stay in close contact with those faculty members that you've grown to appreciate their engagement with you and their interest in your future, and the dialogue that you've had with them, and just stay tuned from that standpoint. But I would say that conventional thinking would be that we would probably be in a mixed modality type thing in the spring. I don't know that we'll be able to just bounce back to I think we were 90% face-to-face as we began the spring of 2020. I don't know that we'll be able to be back to that. There's a day that we hope that we're back to as much face-to-face as we would like, but keep tuned in with the people, and that's a good question. That's someone thinking about finishing, which is a darn good thing. The other thing, question-wise, that came up was, well, what would you say are two reminders now that we're starting and we're going and so forth that we don't want to lose sight of? And I would say that they're twofold. One, continue to refer to your COVID-19 page on our YSU homepage. So you go to the homepage and you can click right on the COVID-19 and make sure you stay on top of what's going on from that standpoint. And then the second reminder I would tell you is, if any question comes up in your mind, the first call that needs to be made is to the Penguin Service Center. Because, again, for you planners or for you folks that have some questions or don't seem to understand this or that, the folks at the Penguin Service Center, they're outstanding. They do a great job in staying on top of things. A lot of the detail-oriented technical things, they stay up on those, and so that's 330-941-6000. So those were just some of the preliminary questions that I had that I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I think it's time now to really go high-tech and go to some of these questions right here and in front of me on this, whatever you call it. What do you call this, Katie? An iPad. An iPad, okay. So this is Kiera from Facebook. I've been experiencing a lot of computer issues. Does the tech center, I can't read that, wait a minute here. This moves. Lend out a temporary computer to use while mine is being replaced? Absolutely. Loaner equipment is available through the IT help desk. You can submit a service request for loaner equipment on the IT website, or you can call 330-941-1595, which is the help desk, and they'll be able to give you all the information that you would like to make sure you get your IT needs met. Gina, oh, look at Gina. Gina must be related to me. She said she's happy I'm here helping us make good decisions. Thanks, Gina. I'm going to repeat that again for my staff that sometimes don't think that. Thank you, Gina. That's good. Any other questions coming up here? Oh, wait a minute. Alex from YouTube, how many case numbers does YSU have? Alex, you might have got on a little bit late as we talked a little bit about the complexity of the data. It's hard to say what a YSU case number is. For example, if we have an employee that wasn't feeling good and they live in Trumbull County and they've decided, to watch themselves and stay home for a while, maybe get tested and so forth, is that a Trumbull County number? Is that a YSU number? If we have a student who's from wherever, Stark County, and they've been going mostly remote, they haven't even been on campus, and they end up with a COVID positive, is that a YSU number? Is that a Stark County number? So we really, I think with the health departments, ultimately in the state reporting data, if someone was here on campus, always on campus, had a positive, that would be a part of the Mahoning County numbers, and it would kind of travel through the city health department from Youngstown City. But at this point in time, it's very difficult to tell what's an exact YSU number. We've had cases. People have done fine. I mentioned earlier that in our isolation right now, we don't have any positives right now. In our quarantine, we don't know of any positives. We have had cases, if you go all the way back from March, we've had a handful of cases. Knock on wood, they've all done well, and they've all are either back to work or back to school or whatever it happens to be. But we know we're going to have more cases. That's just the nature. This is a difficult battle we're in with this virus. I think what's more important than What's the data is what's the plan for making sure we have treatment and so forth. And if we ever get to the point, I think the question is when someone asks how much data, they're asking, how will I know if it's dangerous? Well, if it's ever broaching near an unsafe situation to be on our campus, we will have had that discussion with the city health department, the county health departments, and we will have triggered that move to off campus. But right now, knock on wood, our folks have been doing a pretty good job, and you know, they're keeping track of people and their treatments and so forth. And I know this, I live on campus. I'm here on campus every day. I feel safe on campus. I also know I'm not immune to getting the virus, and if I would get the virus, I know I would be treated well. So I've got to carry on and make sure I do my work, and all of us need to do the same. We've got to execute this good plan that we have in place, have that attitude, be thinking about making sure that we do wear our face coverings and do stay spread out, and don't drop our guard in terms of the things we know we need to do to be the best university in the country facing this tough situation. And we'll make sure that we have everything in place so that we can do that. So if any students or faculty still need a For Pete's Sake kit, they can email forpetessake@ysu.edu. For some of you freshmen that might not have been here in the summer, you know, we came up with that thought through our focus group of as we were getting ready to make sure we could execute this plan, we said, you know what, above all else, for Pete's sake, let's take care of one another. And so that's why that plan is called that. You'll have 2 masks in here and some hand sanitizer and the Penguin Pledge on the back. So feel free to reach out to the For Pete's Sake @ysu.edu. And the last question is, those are all the questions we have. We can answer more comments as they come up. Thanks so much. Continue your great work. Let's even get better, because we want to be the best at Youngstown State. Thanks for tuning in.